Hello everyone, this is Rob, and today I wanted to talk about planning for a quilt and interpreting quilt blocks. We have talked about this before, this is a quilt block that I'm using, and we've talked about this, about how you can grid things to make your quilt blocks. Like this is 64 half square triangles. But what I wanted to discuss is like these big pieces here in this area. I am tossed between using some pre-cuts that I have, 10-inch layer cakes, or make it a two-color and use bulk fabric. But if I use layer cakes, these pieces I can't cut. They're bigger than 10 inches. So what you can do is, I printed it out in a grid so you can see it. But what you can do is, to figure it out, and I'm going to give you an easy way of doing it, is you can draw your lines through here like this, and I'm only going to do a few. So we come across, and this is not neat because it really doesn't matter. So what we've done is, if you choose to make this using 1-inch finished, 2-inch, 3-inch finished. If you make this block using 3-inch finished, it's going to be a 36-inch medallion for a center of a quilt. So what you can do is, you will see down here, you have a half square triangle, a half square triangle, and it does this. If the lines were straight, it would be half squares with squares, so you could cut it out of your layer cake if you chose to. And you could do this scrappy or whatever. But even like these weird shapes, if you come down this way, see, this is a half square to this, so, and I mean, because this line here actually lines up here, so you get a half square, and then you come across here. So you get a half square triangle, a square with a little bit, but you could fudge this and make it work with your pre-cuts. And I mean, if you're even doing 3-inch squares, you could use a charm pack, a layer cake. If you're using 2-inch squares, you could use a jelly roll and cut all these pieces out. But this just shows you how simple quilting can be, and it's not complicated. You just have to choose what size you want to make, and then you can resize any square. And so this is actually 12 blocks across. So if you used 1-inch squares, the thing's going to be 12 inches. If you use 2-inch squares, it's going to be 24 inches. Use 3-inch squares, it's going to be 36 inches. And so on and so on. If you use 5-inch squares, 5 times 12 is 60 inches. That'd be the whole quilt, you know. But you can make this any way, and it doesn't hamper you. So if you're a person who likes small pieces, then make more blocks. More blocks of this, you know. If you had 12-inch ones, you could do a really beautiful Tree of Life quilt with multiple blocks. 24 inches, nice medallion. 36 inches, super medallion. Perfect. Then all you do is have to add your borders. So, I mean, and then you get this. All it is squares. And don't let it trip you, because people would see that block and go, Oh my God, I could never make that. But that's 64. This part right here, the red, is 64 half square triangles. That's it. Whatever size you choose to make them will be the size of your block. If you're using bulk fabric, then you could cut these out of solid pieces. But see, you could come in here, and these are let's say we're using 3 inches, because that's what I like. So we have 3, 6, 9. So we could do a 4 patch here and do a 6-inch square finished here. And then do 3s here with your half square triangles to fill it out. And you could do a 6-inch square here. You know, it depends on what fabric you're using, how you can cut it, and how you want your quilt to look. And don't worry about the seams. I mean, you could actually make this with individual 3-inch squares, and no one would think anything about it. So I hope this gives you a little explanation, and I hope it helps you to understand quilt blocks, because like every Friday I post a quilt block, but it's in a grid like this picture here. So you can choose to use whatever size you want in those grids. If you make that grid 2 inches, it's going to be whatever size it is. 1 inch, 3 inch, 4 inch, 5 inch, 6 inch. Up to you. And that's how you plan your quilts. And it doesn't have to be complicated math. You know, it's just a simple thing. This is the cutting instructions from Electric Quilt. And you'll notice one of the half square triangles down here is 15 7/8 by 15 7/8. I could not cut that out of a 10-inch square, so I'd have to narrow it down to make it fit in the 10-inch squares. And I'm tossed between how I want to make this, if I want to make this a 2-color and stick with my pattern, or do I want to do something different and do like a multicolored scrappy using layer cakes that I have in my storage. So I hope this helps everyone, and I hope everyone has a great week. We are working on our quilt along, and it's coming along. So Seth and I are trying to get a time together that we can do a live to do everything more in depth of what we're planning in the future. So everyone have a great week.